So today, a kind of follow on from a video that I made earlier this week about letting go. And as a little recap of that, I had this realization in the middle of the night that I was holding on to quite a lot of quite unhelpful and quite unpleasant thinking, actually, trying to solve problems that I'd actually created in my own head. I'm sure nobody else here can relate to that. Just yeah, and getting myself in a bit of a tiz in the middle of the night, and then it just occurring to me to just breathe in the word let and breathe out the word go, silently in my head repeatedly, and that actually did help me to get back to sleep. But when I awoke earlier this week, I just sort of ended up chatting to my fiance about it, kind of seeing this whole letting go thing can become an extra thing to do. And when I work with people, we quite often work around the inner critic because most of the people I work with are very high achieving. They've got a lot going on and they've got a very loud voice, a very loud inner critic, um, or some kind of painful stories or whatever, which they are then fighting against. And that can be how letting go can look sometimes, I think. It's like, well, how do I let go? Well, I need to fight this horrible voice in my head. I need to squash it down in some way and make it go away, and then I'll be fine. And the problem is that, the saying, I don't even know who said this, what you resist persists. And that's exactly what happens because we're putting all that energy into more thinking about the thinking about your thinking tends to be quite exhausting. Trying to fight, trying to fix, trying to make it better is really, really super tiring. And then somebody can say to us, talk to us about, well, why not just let it go? I sometimes, hands up, I've sometimes said this, once you change your relationship with your thoughts, it becomes easy to just let them pass through. But that too can sound like a thing to do. And that can get very heady again, right? Well, now I'm about watching my thoughts go through and trying to make that happen. Yet again, we're then actually quite exhausted with this continual chasing away of our thoughts, particularly those critical ones. So here there's a difference, I think, between an intellectual understanding of all of this and it coming more from insight. And I think the most powerful part, and I said this in the last video, but I'm going to say it again, I say it in nearly every video of this, it is seeing what's happening in the body. Seeing that as you think about those awful thoughts about yourself, there is an impact. There's an impact initially in your body. You feel fearful, you feel tight, you can feel those sensations. They don't even need words like fear. We can use very kind of childlike words like tightness and itchiness and tension, words that are just describing what's actually there in the body. Because sometimes I think when we get caught up in words like fear and anxiety and things like that, I think they've got a whole load of other thinking attached to them. I really like this childlike naming. I often say it's like naming the parts of the feels of a collage that a child's made, an autumn collage, with the crunchy leaves and the bits of soft moss and the spiky bits of the conker shells or whatever, smoothness of the conker. It can be that simple, really, is to see that when we're caught up in that thinking about ourselves, when we're caught up in perhaps very critical thinking about ourselves, there's sensations in the body. And being with those sensations can really help this realize, to go from resistance to realization. Instead of fighting, we start to realize, oh, this horrible feeling I've got in my body is coming from this thinking that I'm holding on to. And then again, it becomes more sensible to let it go. And I've not done this little metaphor for a while, crunching about with the ruler there, but the it's like if I'm hitting myself on the head with a ruler and I'm saying to you, I'm hitting my right side of my head for anybody who's listening, not watching. I've got this awful pain in the side of my head and I can't make it go away. And I've tried everything. I'm sniffing lavender oil and I've got, I'm drinking loads of water and all these other things I'm doing to get rid of this. And you're going to say to me, well, you want to stop hitting yourself on the head with the ruler, and then it makes sense to put that down. And this is what I'm talking about with the letting go through insight comes when we just realize where the suffering is coming from. There's not a person on the planet who once understands this three principles understanding on this level will carry on hurting themselves. We're not built for that. We only hurt ourselves, even if people are physically hurting themselves. That is done through a misunderstanding of how to relieve the discomfort in the body that I described earlier, the tension, the tightness, the feeling of contraction, all of that is relieved by letting go of certain thinking. And that's what's, more and more, I think, get out of your head and get into your body. The body is just so wise with this. It's so aligned, It's really, really cool to see that the body's always letting you know where your focus is. Consciousness, that power of consciousness brings these things, brings these thoughts alive in the body. And that's why, for me, the chanting "Let Go" in Time to My Breath in the early hours of a morning earlier this week, that was so helpful. In that moment, that just made sense, because I could see that me trying to make my mind stop focusing on that thinking was just not going to happen. Whereas just gently taking my attention elsewhere, can look like distraction, but actually it was helpful. And I think we should always do what seems helpful in the moment from a place of understanding that letting go is because we're understanding that the feeling is coming from our state of mind, like a seeing through of the illusion. If then it makes sense to chant "Let Go" or sing to a little star, which is what I said in the earlier video, or just breathe in, breathe out, and thinking in, out to your breath, then that's what makes sense. It's fine. Just do what makes sense. But know that the feeling is always coming from the state of mind and not anywhere else. And that's the insight. And if it looks like your mind can solve this problem, your mind can fix the inner critic, know that that's the inner critic taking you on a merry dance to try and solve itself, which is quite, clearly there isn't an inner critic thing. There isn't a thing. There's there's thought. It's all thought, isn't it? But when we're already upset, we're already stirred up, we're already feeling unpleasant in our body, there's pretty much going to be more and more of this thinking that's going to be of the same nature and not helpful. So from resistance to realization and letting go through insight, I think, don't see letting go as a thing to do. Definitely not. It isn't. It's a seeing through. It's what occurs when we see through. When we see just how that experience is being created in the moment, which is what the gift of the three principles gives us, isn't it? So I hope that's helpful. Please do let me know, comment or share, or let me know in some way if you found that helpful. Take care. Lots of love. Thank you.